Right, so you should now have a message to say that the session is being recorded. Okay, so this morning, what we're going to go through, we're going to split the session in two. So the first half will be how we as ITEX as an organisation uses Teams, so we can demonstrate how you can use Teams in your businesses, go through how our engineers, how our team use it on a day-to-day basis, and that will give you a little bit of insight as to how you can use the program yourselves. And that will go from now till about 10:30. Then we'll go into how to set up Teams, how to build a Teams channel, how to invite delegates, how to invite your customers, your suppliers, your colleagues, the people you work with every day, and bring those people into the Teams environment. So hopefully, despite the fact that you're working from home or wherever you are, you can all come together on this platform. Now, I do have to just say that Microsoft have been suffering somewhat in terms of Teams outages, and that is just because of the fact that the sheer uptake of Teams over the past week or two. Yesterday, for example, there were 44 million active users on video live on Teams. That was yesterday, so 44 million users. It's just a phenomenal amount. So if we do get any lag, if we do get any outages, we'll quickly address it, and we'll perhaps reconvene or whatever we need to do. So I'm not going to bore you with PowerPoint, but I've just got a few slides first of all before we go into the Teams product itself. So what is Teams? Well, Teams is a good amalgamation of all the Office 365 stack of products. It all comes together in one place. So Outlook, Microsoft Office, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all those sorts of things comes together in one place where you can chat, communicate, video call as we're doing today, voice, instant messaging, file sharing, and those sorts of things. It's a phenomenal product, and it's a good amalgamation of all the Office 365 stack, as I said, all in one place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and show you actually my Teams and what I look at and what we work on a day-to-day basis. So just bear with me 1 second while I do that for you. Again, on the right-hand side of the screen, there is a continual chat of what's happening this morning. If you've got any questions, please put your messages on there, and one of my colleagues will do the best to answer you.
Hello.
Chris, yes, thank you, Chris. Right. So you should all now be able to see my Teams window. And this is what I'm looking at right now, what I'm presenting to you, lovely people, on this morning. So the first thing I'm going to do, can you all see my mouse pointer, by the way? Can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see my mouse pointer? Yeah, lovely. Thank you. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is click on Teams, which is located on the left there. So what I'm looking at now is the ITEX team channels, and these are the channels that we work on every day. And what I've built here in Blue Peter style, ready to go, is an introduction to Teams channel. So whatever in here is fictional, but it gives you a good idea as to the things that it can do in Teams. So the first thing we have is a general tab. Now, general is a message board. Now everybody in this Teams channel can communicate on this message board here. So if I click on these three dots here, for example, and click on Manage Team, what I can do is show you the team members that are involved in this team introduction to Teams. So these are the people here that have all got access to this Teams channel, Introduction to Teams. So if I go back to General and say, hello team, hopefully I'll get some people responding. Now that essentially is a broadcast to that team. It's different from email. Email, hello, I'm gonna put people because it keeps trying to autofill that and be clever. Right, so that essentially is a broadcast to all those people in that team. It's different from email. Traditionally, I may have emailed those people. They may have emailed me back, and they may have emailed me directly and not emailed the group or the email chain. So communication is lost. But what I can do here, and what all my team members can do, is look at the information and the chat that's going back and forth. And this is here forever. I can scroll back, scroll back, scroll back. So you can quickly recap on chat and things that have been going on, as long as you've got access to that Teams channel. So this is particularly useful, for example, if you have a meeting at work, a sales meeting, a board meeting, accounts, HR, whatever meeting that might be. You can talk about that meeting within this Teams channel here, and that stays within the context of the channel. So if you look above, we've got one, for example, called projects. These are live channels that we use every day. We've got another one called sales. So if we were to talk in the projects channel, you know the context of that conversation. It's about projects. You can also set up channels if you wish for specific projects, for specific things, to narrow down that chat and that communication to more specific topics. But we find it best to just have a general sales, a general finance, a general projects team. So these here are Teams channels. These are what is called channels. Now within each Teams channel, you have tabs, and the tabs are across the top here. So when you start a new Teams channel, the very first thing that's created by default is posts, and this is this chat communication here. But what we can do is add additional tabs across the top. So if it's a sales channel, for example, we can link it to sales charts. We'll go into those in a little bit more detail soon. We can go into production planners and things like that. And the tabs are meaningful and appropriate to that specific channel. So here I have files. And again, we're going to go into how to build this Teams channel in a short while. We have agenda. We can link to websites. We can link to Microsoft Planner. But if you was to click on this plus sign here, then you can add anything that's listed in here that's meaningful for that Teams channel. But again, we'll come back to that in a short while. So if I click back on posts, I can see if any of my team members, yeah, I've got a few people saying hello back to me. Now I can ask those, was project 2, 3, 4 completed? Something like that. Now, everybody in that team can see that, and everybody there might be 1 or 2 specific people dealing with the project, but in reality, more people are involved and are aware of that project. So somebody might respond back to me there saying, well, this is the stage it's at. This is where we're up to. We're awaiting invoice. We're awaiting customer collection. And again, it's better than email because it's everybody in that channel can see that. So one massive benefit of Teams and collaboration of Teams via Teams channels is the fact that you can share files and folders. So this enables you all to have access to this data company-wide. You're no longer confined to your office where, for example, you may have used a file server, or your files and folders might be on a network share in the office. These files here, these folders, whatever we have in here, are accessible to the entire team. Now, one thing you need to be aware of is if this is a finance channel, for example, or a HR or something that's private, whatever you upload in here is accessible to the entire team. So if you've got something accounts-based, finance-based, payroll, those sorts of things, then you need to ensure that only the relevant people are invited to those teams. So we have here a package called Office 365 Packages. It's an Excel document, you can see there. And if I click to open that, then that will open in the Teams environment itself. So hopefully one of my colleagues, Chris, are you there, Chris?
I am, yes.
Okay, so Chris can open this Office 365 package as well. Now I can edit this Excel document from within Teams. I don't need to leave Teams. So it keeps everything within the same environment. And on here, I can actually speak to Chris. You hopefully heard Chris's voice then. And regardless of the fact that Chris is at home, it might be at work, it could be at a customer's site, it could be anywhere, it could be on holiday, wherever he wants. I can speak to Chris in real time and we can both edit this Excel document together. So if you look at the top there, it will say Chris Thompson has this workbook open. Now Chris and I both have this workbook open together. So if this was sales forecasts, it might be costing for a particular project, we can both collaboratively work on this document both at the same time. You can see Chris is putting something there. I'm changing data here, whatever we might put. I can ask Chris to do something or not to do something, or I'm working on this, you please work on that. But it's a great way of collaborating and working together. When we're in the office, of course, I can shout over to Chris and say, Chris, what's going on with this? What are you doing with that? This is much the same, but of course we're using Teams to bridge that gap with that geographical divide between us. He's at home, I'm at home, and we can still work like we do in the office, shout at each other on here, communicate on here. So I'm just going to close that now, Chris.
Yep, no problem.
So traditionally, you might be familiar with Microsoft Excel. If Chris had that file open, the system would have said, this file's already in use. Would you like to wait? It's in read only until this user's finished, at which point you can go on it. You don't need to worry about that sort of stuff on here. You can all share the files and folders in real time in this environment. So just a reminder, if you've got any questions with anything you've seen so far, please just, if you go down to the chat button at the bottom, the little speech bubble, you click on that, and on the right, you'll get the feed, what people are asking and what people are saying and stuff like that. So one great benefit of Teams is meetings. Now we're all remote. I need to speak with Chris about something. I can speak to him ad hoc just by calling Chris. But what you might still need to do, you might have production meetings, for example, once a week. Now you're not going to be able to convene anymore as what you might have done. So what we can do in Teams is arrange a meeting. Now it's 10:15 on Friday. We might arrange a meeting for 11 a.m. We might arrange a meeting for Monday, whatever. But if we click on calendar, now this calendar links in with your Outlook calendar. So whatever you've got in Outlook will come on here. So I might go to Monday, for example, or the week after that, wherever. And we can put in a meeting, sales meeting. In here, I can add the attendees. So Chris, I'm going to add some of my colleagues, Richard, Morby, Martin, whoever. And then I'm going to click send. Now, what that will do is send these team members here a meeting request for the 13th of April at 10 a.m. Actually, if I bring that forward, I'm going to bring that to today. So 20th, 11 a.m. Send. Now that's sent an email to those delegates saying that we have a meeting at 11 o'clock. It's there on the right. I've got it highlighted there. If you can see, that's the right side of my screen. So at 11 o'clock, what those people will do, they will have that same meeting in their calendar, whether that's in Outlook or whether that's in Teams. They will click on that and they will click join. Once they click join, everybody will come together on Teams, just like what we're doing right now. If we've got webcams, if we've got microphones, then we can speak to each other and communicate just like we would if we were in the office, anything like that. So it's really, really useful. Lots of customers use this as well. For example, if they work from many different geographical locations. So we have customers up and down the country, and those come together on Teams now rather than commuting. We've also got customers who work further than that, worldwide, and they come together on Teams as well. And it saves a lot of commute, a lot of travel time, and all those expenses associated with that. Another great thing you can do on Teams is ad hoc meetings. So you don't need to arrange a meeting for some point in the future. If I move my mouse pointer down to the bottom of the screen here, the text is a little bit small, but what that says is meet now. I'm not going to click it because what it will do is it will disconnect this meeting that we're actually in. But if I click meet now, what will happen is every team member of this team channel will get an invite there and then to that meeting. So all these people here, again, we've got Mel, we've got Chris, we've got Tom, Martin. All those people will get an instant invite within this posts here to join a meeting. There's a meeting going on right now. Now, it's always the case, typically, that you'll get people who are unavailable. They can't join because they're out and about, whatever. So what Teams allows you to do, as what we're doing this morning, is record those meetings. So if it's a sales meeting, if it's a board meeting, something like that, you can record that session. So anything that's on my screen here right now is recorded, and that records to Microsoft Stream. What it also does is audio transcription. So that the words that I'm saying to you now will appear as text at the bottom, and I'll show you that. It's not always 100% accurate, but it allows me to edit that text. Sometimes you might speak a little bit quickly, sometimes you might get 2 or 3 people speaking at the same time, but it allows you to edit the text, and I'll show you that hopefully in a short while. Well, in actual fact, what we're going to be doing is posting this video to YouTube, so people that are unable to attend will see, and they'll see the audio transcription. So yeah, so if I go back to the meeting itself, again, there's just a small amount of lag. I'm sure Stephen's absolutely chuffed that he's on the screen there, and Stephen Bradley, hello. So if I click on these 3 buttons here, that would say start recording. So again, if it's a company-wide meeting and something you need everybody involved, not everybody's available, you can click start recording, and that will record this session. So what I'm going to do now is go back to Teams, into the Teams channels. Now, one thing that we find this really useful for is to communicate with our customers. So it's great working as iTechs. We all work together on Teams, even though that we're working in an open plan office for the majority of the time. We're still working on Teams because you've got this communication that you can look back on and those sorts of things. But Another useful feature is the fact that we're able to speak and liaise and chat with our customers. And what this does, it breaks down those communication barriers. So video, like you're looking at me now, like I'm looking at you, there's a lot of communication in terms of facial expressions and those sorts of things. So one thing we find really useful is for example, sales. Now, the documents we share here, we could create a sales channel for a sales opportunity, for example. Now, in here, in files, we might have a costing spreadsheet. So if the customer wants X amount of goods, Y amount of X, Z amount of this, A amount of that, something, whatever you're discussing, then you can work on a costing calculator, for example, in an Excel spreadsheet. Now, what you're able to do is invite your customer to have access to these same files and folders. So if I click on Introduction to Teams, Manage Team, I can add a member here. Now, if I do CT, Chris Thompson, Chris is an ITEX engineer. He's available here already as part of my team. Richard Morby is part of my team. But what I'm able to do is add external email addresses. So joe.blogs@abc.com. So if I was to click on that, Joe Blogs, very infamous character, gets about all over the place. I click on that and Joe will receive an emailed invite to join this Teams channel. So what I'm now able to do is speak to Joe on here, who again is a customer, and speak to my ITEX delegates as well. So Joe might ask a question, when will goods be ready? Can we have this quantity instead of that quantity? Whatever Joe might ask, but again, it's breaking down those barriers. Whether that's between you as individuals in your organization or between you and customers, you and consultants, or trainers, or whatever people you use to run your business, you can all communicate in here. But the customer might ask a question that I'm not prepared for. I don't know the answer. Can we have the goods tomorrow? They were scheduled for next week. Can we have them tomorrow? Can we have them in red instead of blue? Whatever. So I might need to ask my associates a question, still within the context of this Teams channel, but outside of the line of communication with my customer. So it's a private chat I'm going to have with my delegates. So here what we've got on the Introduction to Teams is a private channel. So what I can do here is said customers asked if they can have it in red instead of blue. I don't know. They might have already gone to production, for example. So I can put, hi, Chris. Chris is, again, with me this morning. Right, so what I need to do is make Chris a member of the private channel. So manage channel, add members. I'm going to add Chris into this private channel within the Introduction to Teams channel. So now Chris is added to that. And now what I can do is ask Chris a question. Hopefully this will work. There we go, he's now there. Can the customer have red instead of blue? So again, this communication here, this chat is within the context of this channel, but is in a private area. Oh, he said no. Probably they might have gone to production already. They might be in the warehouse waiting dispatch. Whatever reason, I don't know. But he said no. So now I can go back to the general chat where the customer can see this and say, hello, Mr. Customer. Unfortunately, they are ready for dispatch. Whatever. So that keeps, again, everything in the context of that channel, but it's a private chat within that channel. So I might want to speak to Chris, for example, on a one-to-one basis. So these are Teams channels here. This is being broadcast to everybody in that team. But what I can do here is speak to individuals in my organization. Now, this is a live channel. There's lots going off here. So if I click here, I can add somebody's name. It's one-to-one chat with Chris or one-to-one chat with any member in my team. So I'm working in teams to sort of bridge the gap between myself and my employees within iTex. All our team members are all coming together on Teams. But what it enables is one-to-one chat as well. So there's lots of activity. There's lots of things that are going off in Teams right now. I'm speaking to my delegates and my associates and my colleagues through Teams, and people might respond to any one of these Teams channels. They might also speak to me privately and directly. So you can see I've got one, it says one there, which means I've got somebody's asking me something. So there's lots going on. It's sometimes difficult to get a little bit lost in all this activity, but that's where activity here comes in. If I click on activity, that will tell me what's been going on since I last looked at Teams. Now, if there's communication here in introduction to Teams, that will allow me to go directly into that point of communication, so I can pick up directly where I've left off, if that makes sense. So you're not going to get lost. It's all very intuitive, and so long as there's a number one there, or a 2 or a 3, you know there's activity there pending, something to look at. So I've given you quite a lot already. I've gone through Teams. I've gone through Teams channels. I've gone through one-to-one chat, and I've gone through meetings. There's more to Teams than that. But if you're getting started with Teams as an organization, and you're trying to bridge the gap between yourselves and your colleagues, and trying to obviously be as efficient as you and productive as you can in this environment, then those are the most important things that I've showed you right now in order to do that. So just to give you a quick recap, we've gone into Teams. These here are the Teams channels that we've created as an organization. Introduction to the Teams is the one I've shown you. Then we went on to meetings, how to add a meeting. That doesn't need to be a meeting amongst team members either. That can be a meeting with you and your customer, or you and a group of people inside your organization and outside your organization as well. We touched on one-to-one chat, and I've spoke to you about activity as well. So just to reiterate, down at the bottom of your screen here, what I'm showing you now, there's a speech bubble there, look. If you can see my mouse pointer, if you click on that, and if you ask any questions in here. So any questions that you've got, please do ask, because the chances are other people might be thinking of those same things. And when you do ask a question, it triggers thought process. It triggers thought, and it might encourage you to sort of think a little bit differently about what we're looking at today and those sorts of things. Is there any good questions in here, Chris? Anything that you want to mention to the group?
So just going to the webcams. What should happen is anybody who's speaking should automatically come within like you've just seen me pop up there.
Yeah.
So it will automatically show the people who's talking at the front of the screen, Walter.
Yeah, so because I've got you all muted, in fact, I've got anybody who we know in here, Chris, who can ask. If you unmute your microphones, I will quickly mute them again, because there'll be a lot of background noise. But please feel free to unmute your microphone, and then when you speak, you will come into focus.
Hi, Dean.
Morning.
Simon Tom here.
Hi, Simon. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So you can start and hear these people now. So if I click here, this will show me the attendees.
Dean, really quickly, why have I not got the speech bubble to chat?
You should have. Hopefully Chris can help you. So these are the people in the chat.
No, likewise.
This is the speech bubble. So, yeah. So when you speak, yeah. So, Sarah, was it you asked the question?
I've literally got the 3 dots, and then I've got the show participants.
Right.
So on the 3
Hopefully,
dots, does
Chris
it
or
not
one of
show
our
you?
team
Does
can
it
help
not
you
show
with
you in
that.
there the message function?
No.
Are
Right,
people
okay.
remoting in from the works PC?
It might be then that your
Chris,
yeah,
Chris, I'll let you deal with Sarah,
yeah.
so I can continue on and hopefully can get.
Yeah,
that
it's come on to me as well, Dean. I too don't have the speech bubble.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe Chris can look into that, Hugo, and just put a message on the out of some. Oh, if you let me know, Chris, I can advise. But if you're unable to ask a question though, please feel free to email me. You've all hopefully got my email address, and I will email you back with any questions, and I'm just
Next to the microphone.
try and help best we can.
Right.
So I'm just going to mute you all again now. And what I'm going to do now is show you how to build a team channel and to start using Teams as an organization. Now, the people that attend our workshops, a lot of people are already using Teams, and some have been using Teams for years. Some people that attend have heard about Teams, seen it on the TV, but not actually used it. So we get a great variant of people that come through the door, but hopefully you can all find something useful. So what I'm going to do now is build a Teams channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide these ones. So the first time you launch Teams, obviously there'll be nothing there. There'll be nothing here because it's all new. So to launch Teams, if you click on your start bar and type Teams, if you've got it installed, it will come up as an application here. And that's the starting point. You click to launch. Now, if you're using Office 365, if it asks you your username and password, your username is your email address and your password is your Office 365 password, and then that will let you into Teams. If Teams doesn't come up here, it's because you haven't got it installed. So if you email iTech support, we can help you install Teams. I'll give you some instructions. If there's a free version of Teams, if you're using Office 365, if you're using Business Premium, or if you're using E3 or Business Essentials, then you've got Teams already. You just need to install it if it's not installed and start using it. If you've got an email only subscription, or if you don't use Office 365, then there is a free version of Teams. So if you go into Google and type Teams free, then you will get a link. But what we're also able to do, if you have an email only license, for example, or if you're not using Office 365, we're able to give you a free 1-year trial of Teams. So it should be there's no reason why everybody should be able to get Teams regardless of what you use in your businesses on a day-to-day basis. So Office 365 Business Essentials, Business Premium, E3, you've got Teams already. There's a free version of Teams, which if you Google Teams for free, you will get that. And we're also able to give you a free 12-month trial on Teams. So if you email me, I can get that sorted out for you. So let's imagine you've launched Teams for the first time. I'm going to create team here. So I've launched Teams, click join or create team. I'm going to create a team. I'm going to build a team from scratch, and it's going to be a private team. Now, organization-wide is for everybody. An organization, public, everybody can see, but I'm going to create a private team. Now I'm going to call it My Business, or iTechs, or Sales Management, whatever you want to call it, whatever this team is for, you can name that team here. So I'm going to call this team Homeworkers. is working from home. Pretty much. So I click create. Now, in the background, Microsoft Teams, Office 365 is building that team. And now what it's going to do is ask me to add team members. So I'm going to add my team members here. Chris was with us this morning. Some of the iTex people here. So that list can go on and on and on and on, however you want. I'm going to click add. Now, all these people here will get an email to say that you've been invited to a team called Home Workers. That's done. Click close. That team is now done. You can start communicating with these people. So if I say hello, if I say hello at, and then Home Workers, the difference between that and hello Home Workers is when I say Home Workers, they will get a pop-up at the right-hand side of their screen to say that a message is being sent to them. With the top one, they have to actually be looking at the team to see that communication. But what you're able to do is if you click on the three dots here, and then go to, sorry, it's here, these three dots here, and go to channel notifications. What you can do is enable channel notifications and click save. And what that means is whenever anybody talks in this team channel, I will be notified, and that will come up in my activity here, and that ensures nothing is missed. So if I go back to one of the other channels, for example, backups here, I don't use backups. That's not my job. I'm not involved in the backups that iTex do every single day for the customers. So I don't need to be notified. But what I can do is I can look in that channel to see the communication, see the things that have been happening, and keep in the loop. But this channel is important to me. I want to be notified. I want to be kept aware. So I'm going to go to channel notifications and enable those notifications as I've done. So this is a new channel, as I've said. And what I can do here now is add more people. So I can add extra people in my team. What I can also do, as I mentioned before, is add customers. I can add suppliers, consultants, trainers, legal representative, whoever you're working with in your business, you can add them by adding their email address in here, and then you click that, and again they will receive an email inviting them to that team. Now when they launch teams in their organization, they will see Home Workers, and it will say in brackets guest, because they're a guest to somebody else's Teams environment. So you've got your team here. It's asking me, do I want to create more channels? Open FAQs. If you open FAQs, there's lots of common questions that people ask in there. You'll find that particularly useful. If you've got any questions, you can always ask us, but in there's lots of topics that people generally ask to get started on Teams. So again, I've got my Teams channel here. All of a sudden, I'm communicating with all my Home Workers. Now, I can meet now. I'm not going to do it because, as I said, it's going to kick me off this session this morning. But I can click meet now, and I'm going to instantly talk to all these people on my webcam. And that again bridges those barriers of communication. It brings us all together closer as a team, regardless of our geographic location. So who have we got here? Jake, Rich, Adele. So I can speak to them all in the team. Again, I can go to chat and speak to them individually via webcam and those sorts of things. But now you've got your Teams channel, you're all communicating. What we can now do is add files and folders. So if I click on files, now these are the files that we work on as a team. Right, so if I click back here, hopefully this will work. It's worked. So it's a new channel. I've created this brand new. There's still some things that are going on in the background with Office 365, but hopefully everything's here now. Yes. So these files here in your office or wherever you work on a day-to-day basis, you might have access to these files from your PC at work. It might be from a server. It might be from a NAS box, a share, somewhere like that. But we're all of a sudden working at home. We might not be prepared for it. So what we can do here is click on Files and we can click on Upload. Now, what that's going to do is ask me to upload data, files and folders to this Teams channel. So apologies, it's a little bit small, is that, but I've got company data here. Now, if I'm in the office still, down here, I might have network drives, I might have server drives, S drive, T drive, Z drive, company share, whatever. What I can do is click on that and upload it to, so if I go to Office 365 Workshop, I can select both of those. If I go up a level, I can select these. Right. And what that will do is it will upload that data to here. Okay. What I can also do now, that Office 365 packages now is available to all my team members. There's a little bit of work involved in getting this data onto Office 365 sometimes. But it's worth it because once it's here, you can collaborate. So when everybody goes back to work, hopefully at some time very, very, very soon, you probably still use this because it's such a useful tool. When we're out and about, for example, visiting customers or commuting or in the car, at home, wherever, customer sites, this information is still available to us. So one thing we use every day almost is if you click sync here, what this will do, it will sync whatever in this files to your file explorer. So if I click here.
Sorry, Dean.
Yeah.
A few people asking about teams and files. I just think it might be better if we can describe what actually happens in the background.
Yeah.
So when you create a Microsoft team, what it does is it auto creates a Microsoft Office 365 group. And what that will do is it will allow you to send messages to it from Outlook. It will then also create a Microsoft team within Teams. And then in the background, it will also create a SharePoint site specifically for that Microsoft team. So you've seen all our teams that we have backups, projects. So we have multiple Microsoft SharePoint sites that link to Microsoft Teams. So when you go into those file sections, that's actually pointing to SharePoint in the background. But by default, when you're a member of a team, you get full access. So edit, delete functionality to those documents. So in order to, if you don't want people to be able to edit files, but to view them, we would need to do something in the background where we would create what they call a document library on that particular SharePoint site and set more granular permissions. And then we can then link that document library back into that specific team, if that makes sense. Just thought I'd clarify what actually goes on in the background.
If you remember, I showed you a team called Introduction to Teams. So if I go back to that, so Introduction to Teams, I'm going to unhide that one. Show. Okay. So Introduction to Teams, that's when we invite customers and what have you in for a Teams workshop, we use this team channel called Introduction to Teams. So in the background, when this team channel is created, I've just created one called Home Workers. In the background, as Chris mentioned, it creates a SharePoint site. Now there's one there called Introduction to Teams. So if I go into that, and then go into the document library here, this is what's underpinning the Teams channel itself. And any minute now that should load. There's a little bit of lag currently. So if I go back to the Teams channel itself, introduction to Teams, I click on General, and then I click on Files. So Files here. So in your when you build your Teams channels, there's probably going to be hundreds and hundreds of files and folders here, whatever your team uses on a day-to-day basis. We've just got a couple of files here, but these files here are not actually stored in Teams. Those are stored in SharePoint, and you're using Teams as a window through to your SharePoint site. So if I go back to that same SharePoint site here, again, it's called Introduction to Teams, and click on General. Then I've got the same files and folders here as what I've got in my Teams channel. So I am just using, as I said, the Teams environment as a window through to the SharePoint site. Now, what you can do, either in Teams, you can click Sync here at the top, or you can click Sync in SharePoint, and what that will do is it will sync that team site to your File Explorer. And File Explorer is something that most people are familiar with, that you use all the time. So the fact that you're using Teams and the fact that you're using SharePoint, your users don't always need to know all that, because sometimes people fear change and they're a little bit reluctant. But us as an organization, what we do is if you click Sync, then those files and folders are available. Introduction to Teams here, look, those files and folders are available to your colleagues and whoever you're working with through a familiar interface, which is File Explorer. So these documents that I'm looking at here, invite letter, Office 365 packages, are actually a synchronized copy of what's in SharePoint. So I'm looking at the same data from multiple viewpoints. So here I'm looking at invite letter and Office 365 from within File Explorer. It's exactly the same as what I'm looking at here in Teams or in SharePoint. The data always resides in SharePoint, or by default the data resides in SharePoint, and that is a centralized copy of that data. So is there any more questions regarding that, Chris, what I've been explaining?
No, that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, I tend not to try. I try not to go too deep into SharePoint. A lot of users who use Teams are not really familiar. They don't really know that SharePoint's there, and it's not something that we want to hide. It's just that if you give too much information, people tend to get a little bit lost in everything that's going on. So what we tend to do is keep it within the Teams environment. But for some users, you can sync, as I mentioned here, and that will sync it to File Explorer and create that SharePoint site in the background. But another advantage of File Explorer is what it allows me to do is I can click down here onto my network drives, my server drives, my desktop, my file shares, my NAS boxes, whatever I use in my business, and drag and drop that data into here. One thing I would advise that you be cautious of, though, is if you was to drag an entire company drive that might contain 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 files and folders, it's going to take a lot to sort out, and a lot of synchronizing and a lot of uploading. So my recommendation would be to upload what I would call everyday content to get you started, the most important stuff to get you started in your business. So it might be a handful of data, and then in the background you can start uploading more We can help. We will assist. But then all that data, once you drag and drop that data in File Explorer from network drive, USB drive, shared folder, wherever that data resides, into here, what will happen is these will get a blue circle. So if you imagine I've just dragged invite letter. So if I go back to my desktop, actually, and company data, if I right click on company data and copy, and then go back to introduction to Teams, right click, paste, what will happen, company data is now there, and I've got a blue circle, which means that that data is synchronizing from my desktop or from my PC here. It's now synchronizing and going up to SharePoint and going up to Teams and Office 365. If I delve into that a little bit deeper, some of these will start and turn green. So if I go back to the top level, you see Office 365 packages has got a green tick, which means that that's synchronized. It's available in SharePoint, and I've got a synchronized copy available on my device here. So if I go back to Teams now, depending on how quick my upload speed is and things like that, the company data will hopefully be available. It might just take a short while just to appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to proceed with the how to build a team site. I'll come back to that, and hopefully when I come back, you'll see that that data is now available in Teams. So just to recap, we're almost out of time now. Just to recap, I've showed you how to build a team site by clicking Join or Create a Team here. We called it Home Workers. I created that, and I invited my team members, my delegates, my associates, my customers, my suppliers, whoever I work with on a day-to-day basis. And those people are now in here and can see the communication that's going on here. We can then add files and folders, as I've explained. So if I click on Files, I can upload them here, or I can click Sync, which means the content will sync to File Explorer. And once it's synced to File Explorer, you can then start and upload the data. Just to reiterate again, please don't try and upload the entire company drive. It will probably fail because there'll be too much data for it to cope with all at the same time. We can help, but what my recommendation would be is just again to do the essential data first of all. So what you can also do here in your Teams channel is add cloud storage. So in your organization, if you use Dropbox or Box or Google Drive, Citrix ShareFile, if you're using something different in your organization, but you wanted to now move to Teams as a way to collaborate and communicate with your team members, then you can add box storage to here or Dropbox, and that data will become available in here, and you can start working and sharing that data with the people in that Teams channel. So that is really useful. Again, up across here, the top here, we've got tabs. So we've got posts, we've got files. Now what I can do is if I click plus, I can add things that are meaningful for that team channel. So if it's sales, you might want to link that to sales spreadsheets and things like that, or some cloud accounts packages like Xero and Dynamics 365 will link with this product. And what you can do is surface that information and publish it on here. If you're getting started though, that might be going a little bit deep right now. But what we can do on here is add websites. So if you're using supplier websites, you might be looking at components online, for example, e-commerce, those sorts of things. You can add frequently used websites on here. So of course, one that you probably use all very frequently is iText, just to show you, because I know the URL So if you imagine that might be parts, or it might be if you're using British standards, ISO, and you need to refer to that data online, instead of going away into your web browser and Google it, you can put the pin those websites onto here. You can also add other things as well, PDFs, Microsoft Planner, Stream, PowerPoint, and there's an app store here. If you click on apps, there's lots of apps that are developed by third parties that you can plug into your Teams channels. And the Teams channel here will then become really full and feature rich. You'll have all the things that you need to hand. But the biggest benefit is that you're communicating now with your team members, regardless of their location, regardless of where they're at, from home, from work, whatever. So click back on. Right, so just to recap what we've gone through today, we've shown you Teams, we've shown you channels. You can switch your webcams off if you wish. I've showed you Teams, I've showed you channels, I've showed you how to build a channel, how to communicate with your team, all those sorts of things, how to meet with people, whether it's a meet now within a team channel itself, or whether it's to schedule a meeting. I've got a meeting this afternoon, for example. It was supposed to be in Wakefield. Nobody wants to do it anymore. They all want to stay at home. We're going to meet on Teams. I'm going to do that by scheduling it on the calendar here and adding their email addresses, and we're all going to meet on here instead. But I appreciate I've given you a lot this morning. There's a lot to digest, and maybe you'll go away and start and think about it, and you've got questions to ask. So please email me, and I'll help you all we can. We'll answer all the questions we can. This session has been recorded, as I've said, so we'll be putting the recording on YouTube. I'll send you all the link out a little bit later, so you can share that with your colleagues who might not have been able to attend this morning. But I hope you found it useful, and we're here to help. We want to keep all the businesses as productive as you possibly can be. So please ask any questions you've got, and we'll help you all we can. But again, thank you for joining this morning, and we hope that's been of use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Cheers. See you later. Yeah, bye.